Bleach has one major event that we can link back to as the instigator for almost every big storyline that unfolds within the series. Similar to the mystery of the Void Century within One Piece, the original sin reveals everything that the Shinigami don't want us to know about their world, and the wicked role that they had played in creating it. The original sin was a heinous, unforgivable crime that was committed against the Soul King. In this video, I want to dive deep into this evil act and explain to you how it serves as the driving factor for the motives of Aizen, Ginjo, and even Yhwach. A lot of the information within this video is sourced from the Can't For Your Own World light novels, and I believe that it will play a significant role within the continuation of the Bleach manga with Kubo's upcoming Hell arc. So join me as we break down and analyze the most defining moment within the long history of Bleach's lore. Within Can't For Your Own World, the original sin is explained by Tokinada Tsuneyashiro. He states that the Soul King as we know him is nothing more than a sacrificial lamb, and that the world of Bleach has not always existed in its current form, where there is a clear distinction between life and the afterlife. Before reality was split into the three realms of the human world, Soul Society, and Hueco Mundo, there existed a key figure who served as the guardian of humans. He had protected them from the threat of the Hollows. The original state of the world had no distinction between life and death, as it was a singular, unchanging reality that was constantly progressing, but it was also regressing at the same time thanks to the introduction of the Hollows. The guardian of the humans was the originator of all Quincy, Shinigami, and Fullbring powers. Very much like Ichigo, he had all aspects of power within him, but the only difference is that he was the source of these powers that later would go on to flourish into their own separate races. The original singular world was chaotic, but this guardian figure governed over the world, protecting the weak by being their beacon of hope. The world ended up being split into three realms during an event known as the Original Sin. From what we know, this plot was devised by the ancestors of the five great noble families. The original singular reality was formed over the course of 100 million years. Life had started to take shape with the emergence of human souls. Eventually, a negative creation appeared which had started to devour the humans, thus slowing down the growth of the circulating human souls. This negative creation would come to be known as hollows. Eventually, large quantities of hollows would merge together to form gigantic hollows that we refer to as Menos Grande. At this point, the singular reality had started to stagnate, but then there had emerged a new life form, like it was a response to the world becoming stagnant. This new creation had destroyed the Menos by turning them into sands of Reishi. This had enabled these circulating souls to continue growing. There were others who were born that had also possessed weird and wonderful powers, but none of them could match the incredible might of the original guardian of the humans. This guardian would come to be known as the Soul King. It was confirmed that he had the powers of omniscience and omnipotence, as the Soul King was aware of all things, even events that were yet to transpire. The Soul King was getting rid of hollows in a similar manner to the Quincy by destroying their souls. This of course differs from the methods that are used by the Shinigami, who purify a hollow and send the accompanying soul to the Soul Society or to hell if the individual is a sinner. While busy eliminating hollows, the world was slowly becoming chaotic once more. There then emerged five notable figures who did not agree with the current state of reality. These five figures were the ancestors of the five great noble families, the founders of the Kuchiki, Shihoin, Shiba, Tsuneyashiro, and a fifth unnamed family. It was evident that each of the five founders had differing motives that would all culminate into their final plan to change the world. The founder of the Tsuneyashiro family was concerned about the mighty power of the Soul King, and that it may be used against them someday. The ancestor of the fifth unnamed family had suggested that there needed to be a lid which could cover a pit, which we now know to be the realm of Hell. This confirms that Hell had existed during the time of the singular reality, and it had predated the creation of the three separate realms. The founder of the Kuchiki family had wanted to establish order in order to heal the chaotic state of the world. The founder of the Shihoin family had wanted to ensure that the circulation of souls had continued to increase so that the world would progress from its stagnant state. And lastly, the Shiba family founder had desired to mercifully eliminate hollows so that they could become purified after they are defeated, since hollows were originally made from human souls. It was the the culmination of all of these desires that had resulted in the plan to split the singular reality into 3 realms. Their ultimate desire was to separate life and death, and in order to bring this reality about, they needed the incredible power of the Soul King. The ancestor of the Shiba family was opposed to their plans and didn't want to partake in it. He unsuccessfully had tried to talk the others out of it, but the founder of the Tsuneyashiro family had taken charge of things. The Soul King was tied up and sealed into a crystal, and he had served as the linchpin of the newly constructed 3 worlds. By using the Soul King's special ability, the Almighty, they were able to create the foundations of a new era, separating life and death with the creation of the Soul Society, Human World, and Hueco Mundo. Ichibe within Can't Be Your Own World states that the Soul King was aware of the future thanks to the Almighty. He had known about what would have happened to him, but he did not oppose or resist it, and this may have been because he was hopeful for the future that the noble families had wanted to create. Ichibe suggests that the Soul King had willingly accepted their plan and was aware of everything that would have unfolded in the future. If the Almighty had allowed him to see every possible future, then he knows the outcome of both futures, if he did or did not become a linchpin of reality. The original sin was performed after the Soul King was trapped in the crystal structure. The founder of the Tsuneyashiro family was doubtful that the Soul King would continue to comply with their plan. He was aware that the Soul King could escape from his bindings whenever he had wanted to, so in order to prevent this from happening, a wicked scheme was devised in order to mutilate the Soul King. The 5 ancestors of the noble families had dismembered the limbs of the Soul King, proceeding to then gouge out his heart and internal organs. All of this had considerably weakened the Soul King. Now this was the original sin, the unforgivable act which had resulted in the Soul King becoming a true lifeless ruler. Despite him having reluctantly taken part in it, the ancestor of the Shiba family was opposed to this plan. He had attempted to offer himself up as a sacrifice instead of the Soul King, but thankfully he was unsuccessful at convincing them, and it was thanks to him remaining alive that the Shiba clan was able to prosper, and eventually this family had branched off and given birth to Isshin Shiba and his son Ichigo Kurosaki. The right arm of the Soul King ended up being enshrined within the Soul Society as a deity that the residents of Rukongai had worshipped, and the left arm of the Soul King had become a part of the Quincy under the watchful eye of Yhwach, who is the son of the Soul King and the father of all Quincy. The crimes that were committed by the founders of the noble families were etched into a stone tablet that was in the possession of the Tsuneyashiro family for many generations. It eventually had ended up being destroyed by Tokinada Tsuneyashiro. The original sin is a well-protected secret of the Soul Society, with only a few individuals being aware of it. The concern is that if this secret got out there, then there would be more people who would begin to rebel against the Soul Society, like Yhwach, Aizen, and Ginjo had done. The original sin is linked to the birth of Fullbringers, as fragments of the Soul King are passed onto the fetus of any mother who is affected by the Reiatsu of a hollow. The original sin within Bleach is a parallel to the biblical original sin where Adam was banished from the Garden of Eden. If we look at it in this perspective, then the original reality was similar to the Garden of Eden. This is in line with how Yhwach had described his dream of creating a world without death, describing it to be a perfect world. Aizen had also desired to create a perfect world, believing that he deserved to sit upon the heavens as the ruler of reality, instead of a mindless ruler like the Soul King. Both Aizen and Yhwach had despised the reality governed by the Shinigami, and had wanted to overthrow the Soul King. In a way, the two of them had wanted to return to some form of the singular reality, or in other words, to the Garden of Eden. There are a lot of consequences that occurred as a result of the original sin. The most significant one was that the Shinigami had become the primary race governing over reality. The ancestors of the 5 great noble families had crowned Ichibe as the father of all Shinigami, and as the ruler of the Soul Society, so you could say that he is in fact the real ruler who is pulling the strings behind the facade of the Soul King. The dismembered limbs and body parts of the Soul King had ended up being reincarnated into different souls, like how the Fullbringers each have a piece of the Soul King within them that grants them power, or how Rangiku was born with a special piece to her soul, which again was a fragment from the Soul King. This was later taken by Aizen in order to create his own Hokyoku. Additionally, all of the major conflicts within the series all find their roots linking back to the events of the original sin. It is a pivotal catalyst that serves to underpin the motives of almost every antagonist that Kubo writes into the story. There are several characters within the universe of Bleach who we know are aware of the original sin. They include Ichibe, Yhwach, Aizen, Urahara, and Tokinada. So after having spoken at length about the defining event of the Bleach Bleach world, it makes me want to break down and analyze the character of Tokinada Tsuneyashiro, the descendant of the wicked Tsuneyashiro family who had devised this evil plan to dismember the Soul King. Tsuneyashiro as a character believes that there is nothing wrong with committing sin in a world that was founded upon sin. Tsuneyashiro's character is deeply linked to Tozen and Hisagi, so it will be fascinating to finally dive deep into his character in a future video. If you want to see me cover more material from the Can't For Your Own World light novels, then definitely let me know. Also, I want to know your thoughts about the original sin. Did you know about the extent of the crimes that were committed against the Soul King? Were you aware of how the Bleach world was split into 3 realms? I look forward to reading all of your thoughts on the original sin and what you think about more Can't For Your Own World material being covered on this channel. Lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I can't wait to see you in my next Bleach Explained video. If you enjoy my content, then you can support my channel through Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or even through YouTube by becoming a channel member. You will gain access to exclusive channel perks and a Discord server which I frequently use. So become a member of my Zero Division and be the first to know about my upcoming videos. And once again, thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.